Hello, welcome back, amazing learners. We are going to be having a quick lecture review of exactly what we did on Wednesday, which is the DOM, the Document Object Model. And we explained the Document Object Model as a map. It's like a map, but it gives us like the power to do a whole lot in JavaScript, to do a whole lot to our HTML, that's our document, using JavaScript. So just as we can basically see from the image here, we have, you see that this is like a map into our web page. So why are we actually discussing about this in JavaScript? Uh, JavaScript can actually use this map to make some basic changes, like you could select an element, let's say the H1, select tags, change or read these elements, and respond to user events, and a whole lot. So when you when you look it up in the internet, they'll always give you the definition as the DOM is like a tree, like you definitely have, you see how it's actually segmented. We have children, just like the document is like the the parent, and it has a child, a child which is the HTML, our root element that has two children, the head and the body, and you see the family keeps progressing. So depending on the number of elements that you have, I just hope this makes sense. But I also encourage you to go and read it up on W3 Schools, and so you get like a better overview, even as we've explained it. But just see it as a map of a web page. Let's say your web page that the JavaScript that you're going to write would actually use. We could come into your HTML through JavaScript with a better understanding of the DOM. So let's jump right straight into our Visual Studio Code and get to see all these at work. So I have my Visual Studio Code by my left and my browser, my Chrome browser, by my right. So the first thing we're going to do, just as we did in class, I've already created the H1. That's my H1 with an ID of my ID. So using this ID, I am going to target this H1 element using this ID. So, and to do that, the first selection method we are going to look at with respect to the DOM. So I'll just come here and say DOM and say document object model. Then we're going to look at, for those of you who are already conversant with the DOM or JavaScript, or have some basic understanding, you could follow, you could choose not to. So, but you're all welcome. So we're going to look at get element by ID. But before we do that, I want to show you something. So jump into your Chrome browser and hit your F12, or you inspect, or just exactly how we've been doing is come right here and type document. So document, right, and hit enter. When you hit enter, you see this. Let me zoom out. So, and when you click this arrow, you see the basic structure, just exactly what. Let's open up the body. Inside the body, I have my H1. So this is like basically our document. This document that we're working on, the HTML document. So I now know that inside my document, I have an H1 with an ID. So from my document, I could target this H1 using the ID name. That's what this get element by ID is all about. You get the point, right? Just as we did in class. So I'll clear this, then I'll come here. I'll say document, which we've already seen using the Chrome console. We already know it's what we're working on. I'm inside my JavaScript file. Note that I've linked it here. So I've done my script source. I've linked it. If you've not linked yours, please do that. Then I'll say get. So I'll say get element by ID. They will already have the ID name as my ID, right? Let's confirm that. We have my ID. I'll say dot style dot color should be equal to, let's make it and give it an obvious color, red. So when I saved it, you saw that the ID of my text changed. If I had a paragraph and also, share the same not ID, we give it like a particular ID name, I could target it with get element by ID. I went to my document and I say get the element that has this ID name inside my document, give it a color style of red. So you get the idea, right? So the next thing we're going to look at is how to select. This actually the first. We'll come up here and we'll say selecting elements. So the first that we looked at was get elements by ID. So the next thing we're going to do is go into our HTML and we're going to create some LIs. So some LIs, let's do it this way. Let's say LI times, let's say 10. Then inside we could just say 1. I'm going to pause. I'm going to fast forward. So I have my LIs with 10 list items inside. Like I'm supposed to have like a UL. I need to so I'll grab this guy, come into this place and I'll paste it. So I have another list with 10 list items. So the next we are going to look at is how to select an alternative selection method, selecting elements by their tag name. So I'm going to come here and say, and to do that we are going to use get elements. So this is plural, elements by tag name. So to achieve this, I'm going to say, we'll say document dot get elements s by tag name. And what's the tag name? Li. We want to get the Li. So I could save this in, let's say const. I'm going to say const Li equals. So I've gotten the elements that actually has this tag name, and I'm saving it in a variable called Li. So let's console.log our Li's. So let's console.log this. So you see that we have like an HTML collection. It's like an array of like 10 items. Let's see the size. The length of the array is 10. So this means that to actually get a hold of the items in this HTML collection, we're going to look through this HTML collection. So I intentionally did this so we could, just as we did in class, we wrote a for loop and targeted the items. So I'm going to say create the iteration variable. Say let's start from 0. Say I should be less than the li dot length, which is 10, and we said we should always increment. Why do I always keep it? So I'll say for every item in this, I want the color. So I say dot style dot color should be equal to, let's say, blue. And when we save this, we have all is not defined. It's Li, sorry, I said all. So you see that the colors of the items changed. You could also change the background color. I could have exactly this, just as we did in class. I'll say background. I'll say background color. I'll change the background color to blue. I'll change the text color to white. So you get the idea. I could give it you could do anything, not just color. I could give say star dot padding, let's see, 10 pixels. So we have 10 pixels, and you could just like do whatever you want to do. We could give it like margin bottom. Say margin bottom 10 pixels. Yeah, you could see. So like you could actually achieve more. You could see we were able to achieve all this by targeting selecting the element inside our document, our HTML document, and which the element was the li, and we could achieve all this by just writing. We had just the UL and LIs inside here, and we could even do CSS inside our JS, courtesy of our understanding of the DOM. So let's just do a quick recap. We've looked at get elements by ID, and we now looked at get elements by tag name. So the third selection method we are going to look at is known as get elements by class name. Say we have like a class, but it's going to be class get elements. So it's not just going to be one. You could get just one element if the element has that class name, but it's going to also pop out like something like an array. So let's see, get elements by class name. So to do that, we're also going to say let's jump into our HTML and let's create, just as we did in class, we're going to create 2p tags. So I'm going to say dot 2p, I'll say dot lead. Then I'm going to just have a duplicate of it. Then I'll come here and say lorem. And I'll come here. I would have just done one on. So I have like 2 paragraphs. When I scroll down, let me get rid of this. So these 2 paragraphs actually have a class name of lead. So I'll jump into my style. Then I'll say, let's say document dot get elements by class name. And what's the class name? Lead. So I could just save it into const. Let's save it with const class. Let's save it to const lead. So, and I already have it saved there. So I've targeted those particular elements that share the same class name. So let's just console.log lead. Let's see what the output actually looks like. So we'll come here and do F12. Right, so let's see. We also have an HTML collection too. An HTML collection. So this means that we could actually loop through the same. We could write like a for loop. I'll comment this out. So let's do the same for loop that we've been doing. So we're going to say let I equals to 0. That it should start from 0. And say let I be less than lead dot length. Then I should increment. Then I'll come here. What do I actually want to happen? I could just say lead I dot style dot color. I want it to be, let's use an obvious color. I'll say yellow. So let's save. See the color actually changed to yellow. We could change the background color of, we could say background. Now also notice that this C is with a capital letter. Whenever we are doing CSS in JavaScript, especially CSS properties that say background color, that you need like 2 different background. In CSS we do background dash color. In JavaScript we'll use the camel casing. So I'll say, I change the background color And you can see a whole lot of things that we are doing. So we've looked at get elements by ID. So get element by ID was we were targeting just see get element, just the ID with this name. Get elements by class name, this one. Get elements and this one get elements by tag name. These two selection method actually spits out an array like an HTML collection. That's why we could loop through and target those elements that share that class name or tag name. So the next thing we did in class was other alternative selection methods, which are we looked at query selector, and we looked at query selector all. Query selector all. So we're going to explain this. We're going to use the two. For the first one, query selector, we could target, let's say we could target class names and also IDs. But in the case of query selector, you get to target just one. So I could just target like a class name, and I could just target an ID name instead of doing get element by ID. This is not like a better alternative. It's based on your choice. But query selector gives us like the power to just target an ID or a class name, but we have to indicate that while we do that. So we're going to see that here. To achieve this, let's jump into our HTML, come down here. I think this is the last exercise we did. We're going to create a button. So I will come here and I'll say create a button. Then inside my button, let's do button. I'll give it an ID of BTN. Then I'll come inside and I'll say click me. So I'll save that. Let me just have my input. I'll say text name. I'll say name should be name. I'll give it an ID of name. So when I save that, yeah, so let's jump right there. So I think I should just should I comment all this out, guys? So let me zoom in. So let me scroll down. So like this is what I have. So I just want to let's do this. So I'll jump into here, then I'll say document dot query selector. Then because it's an ID, I have to indicate using the hash. So we gave it a class of BTN. So I could just save this with const, save it into this variable, create a variable, const BTN. Then when I have this, I can now say BTN dot. So let's just console.log BTN, console.log BTN. So we see what it looks like here. So when we console.log BTN, we just have this BTN. So we've selected this class name. So let's give it the styling that we want, or the effect we want to see. So I'll come down here and I'll say BTN dot, let's still change, like let's change the background color. I'll say BTN dot style dot color. No, let's use background color. Let's change it to red. You see that? Let's also change the color. We say BTN dot style dot color. Let's change it to white. We could use the hexadecimal. So you see that it works. BTN dot. So you see we used query selector to do that. Now query selector all is, say let's have another class. We're going to have another button. Let's have like some more buttons here that are all sharing BTN. Let's say click me, flog me, and let's say code click. Let's say code click. So we have like three buttons, but you see that this other, but they are sharing the same ID name. But this these other buttons, if their background colors are still, the defaults. So this is where query selector all comes in. So when I come down here and I'll say let's just get rid of this one and save, so everyone gets to the normal. So I'll say document dot query selector all. Then what do I want to query selector? I want to select all the elements with the ID name btn. So let's save it in const, let's say btns, and let's save that. So when I console, let's console.log btns s. So let's look at what we have here. Let's go. So no, okay, we needed to comment these two out. So let's see what we have. We have a node list. We have a node list of 3 btns. This btn elements with this class name btn. So you see where query selector all comes in. So let's give it some styling and use. But before that, I want to explain something, because it appears in an array like a node list. We have to loop through this node list for the styling to actually touch everything. Let me just show you something. Say I just came here and I said, just as we did here, so we'll just grab this and come down here. Let's uncomment this one. Then we say btns.style.background colors equal to rest. See what it will give us. Cannot set properties of undefined. Let's see where we have this error. See, we need to loop through, because we have like a node list, like an array, and we are saying let the array style, let the background color of the array be red. It's not possible. So we're going to do this. We'll comment this. Then instead of right, let's just grab our for loop. I know you guys know how to write a for loop. So all we have to change is this lead. We'll change it to what? btns, because we're working with this. Then we'll change this lead to btns. Then we'll change this leads here to btns too. So maybe we could, okay, it does already. Let's see. So you see, we could just change this to red. You see, we could change this to, let's give it a yellow. So yellow is 00. Now let's do green 00 ff00. So you could just see like the difference between the query selector all and the query selector. Query selector just target and we could just apply our styling to one. Query selector will give, even if we just have just one item in query selector all, it will still create a node list. So guys, I think this should be it. This was actually where we did the callback function. So let's look at the callback function. To explain the callback function, we're going to use our btn. We're going to use our button. So the callback function is a function that is triggered when an action, let's say an action happens. So let's say, for example, I am an application, and you built me in a way. I am built in a way that when my name is called, I should respond yes sir. So you see, the response is actually the callback function. When, for example, what we're going to do is when this button is clicked, when this one is clicked, the background color should change. So, and to do that, we're going to add an event listener. An event listener is it's a function that takes in two parameters. The first is what it should listen for, the event it should listen for, and the second is the action it should take when that event it is listening for happens. So to achieve that, we are going to we're going to use query selector. Let's use query selector here. Let's use this code. So I'll come here and grab this guy. I'll come here and paste him. So uncomment it. So document.query selector. I will just come here and say change background color. That's like the, let me comment this, guys, out. Let me comment this one too. Let me save. So I'll say grab this btn guy, and I that's what I want. So to do that, I already have this my change background, this like the variable name. I'll copy it, come down here, you could just type it, then I'll add an event listener. Add event listener. Now this function should listen for a click, and when this click happens, something should happen. Let's call the function name change bg color. This is like my function name. Then I just want to like show you the long way of doing this. We'll go through the shorter way of doing this in class. So all I have to do now is to create this function. I'll say change bg color. So what do I want this function to do? So I want it to change the background color, like the background color of my body. So I'll say inside my document, I want the body of my document to be changed. So I'll say style dot background color. I want it to be changed to red. Now this would only be changed to red when I have clicked, when it has listened for a click. So when I click this, you see the background has changed to red. So I would also target this I'll target this other guys. So all I have to do is I'll say btn 2, then I'll say btn 3. I'll save it and I'll come here, then I'll still replicate exactly what I have done here. I said change btn color 1, let's say _1, no, let's just do 1. So I'll just have duplicates out. Then I'll say change btn color 2 and btn color 3. So instead of that, I'll grab the second div, the second button and the third one too. So what do I want to achieve? I want when I click the second one, something else should happen. So I also have I'll have this duplicated. I'll have 2, I'll have 3, and I'll say change. This one will be change color red, change color blue, and this one will be change color green. So I'll come here and I'll say change color red. Then I also create like duplicate functions for these other guys. So I'll say change color blue and change color green. So I'll come here and I'll say blue, and I'll come here and I'll say green. So let's click the second one blue, click third one green. So you get the idea, guys. So this would be it for today. In the next class, we would work with these inputs that we created here. I hope you will learn so much from this exercise and lecture review. Take your time and review the codes, and I know you would understand everything, because this is like basically almost everything that we did in class in a different way. So have a wonderful day and see you on Friday.